Get your tickets now for the 23rd annual edition of the OUTshine LGBTQ Plus Film Festival happening April 23rd to May 2nd. Don't miss our incredible grand opening drive-in event followed by 10 days of non-stop films from here and all around the world that you can watch at home. Watch trailers and get your tickets at OUTshineFilm.com now.
Hello, everyone. This is Victor Jimenez. I'm your executive director for the OUTshine LGBTQ Plus Film Festival. This is our 23rd annual Miami edition. We're presented by Gilead and Miami-Dade County. I'd like to do a special thank you to our members who support us year after year, and especially our Producer Circle member. If you're not a member, we encourage you to become one. It's with your continued support that we are able to bring you these great films, these great Q&As, and come back year after year. With that being said, this is going to be a great, hopefully, it's going to be a great Q&A with the director of Joe Gives Up and Moves to Montana. And let's bring him into the studio right now, Joe Bacon. Welcome, Joe.
Hi, Victor.
The first thing I want to say is I'll start by just giving you a compliment. I really enjoyed your one-man show. I found it, quirky, not, different for stuff that we normally show in the film festival. And just completely original, and you and your story completely engaging. So I just start off with a compliment just to let you know that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Though I think I know the answer to this, I'll let you give the answer to this. I know where the idea came from, but I guess what was the impetus for you to actually want to put your story written down and actually make it and then get it out there to the world? And what was that journey to actually get it made?
It was a story that I had been sitting on for a while. It's obviously based on sort of autobiographical real events. And I'd written scripts about it in the past. I'd written a film that was going to be much more like a traditional independent film a couple of years ago. And I think at the time I was still so close to the real incident that it was kind of really dark, and I was trying to find humor in it, and the humor wasn't really coming through, and I just didn't have enough distance from it, or maybe enough personal closure or healing, and so nothing ever happened with that. And then it kind of was just a case of like, some point when you're ready, you're ready. I got sober a couple years ago, and so that was definitely kind of a springboard into dealing with some of these demons from the past. But then it was this year, I just sort of saw it. It was really fast. It was like, oh yeah, it could be told like this. It's autobiographical fiction, so the whole idea of me moving back to Montana is not real. And a lot of the characters are fictionalized. But I just saw sort of the framework and how it could be told, and the tone of how you would balance the reality and the dramatization and the drama and the comedy. And then I wrote it initially as a pilot for a show that I was kind of billing as Glee Bag. So the idea was like, it would be a show where in the pilot episode, my character would go back to Montana and would kind of start this relationship with his old high school speech team. And then the show could be sort of like Glee, where you'd follow the team moving forward and competing in competitions. It's obviously very hard to get a TV show going. And so I think I was kind of just frustrated at the idea of like writing another script and then just saving it on a hard drive on my computer and being like, okay, I guess I'll find something else to do now. So I was looking for ways that I could keep the ball rolling and keep moving forward with this story using the resources that I had. And also in the middle of a pandemic. And so doing it as a one-man show became an idea. I saw the live taping of Phoebe Waller-Bridge's Fleabag, and I had sort of seen how you could make the connection from something. I had always thought with her show And stop me if I'm rambling or getting into too much. I had thought with her show, I had heard it was the series Fleabag was based on a one-woman show, and I always thought, like, how is that? How is it a one-woman show? And then seeing on Amazon, you can see the like filmed version of her doing it by herself in a small theater, and I could see how you could make that connection between something that was a pilot or a film script to being a thing you could present by yourself on a stage. And I thought, oh, I could kind of do that with this pilot that I wrote. So I started adapting it to that. And then it was like, as I was moving into doing that and thinking about filming it, it sort of snowballed into the idea of, well, I'm shooting it anyway, and I'm a huge nerd for like costumes and wigs and dressing up. So I can stop the camera and we could actually, like, I could change outfits. And so that was kind of how it became what it is.
Yeah, it's interesting that, now that you say that the intent was it for it to be a pilot and then, basically be like a speech glee. I see how it ended, like how it ended, where, you're talking to the student, and it almost becomes like this, like, let's start the team to go against my old friend and all that. And I liked how it ended as a film, but I definitely see now where, you would take off from that and then it would be this episodic thing afterwards. And you definitely did a good job with the costumes and the makeup and all that to go through different roles. I was, and I'm glad, it's kind of interesting, because you start the film with the footage of you doing that flip, which happened like it did, obviously in real life. But then what's described in the one-man show is similar but different. So you mentally clicked in that, like, okay, yeah, this is a narrative. It's still it's based on fact, but it is a narrative story. I was kind of curious with the character of the lesbian detective in the police force. I was like that when she one thing she comes across initially is sympathetic, but then later on in the case, she's basically, for lack of a better term, I'm a cop. I don't want to deal with this report. I'm just going to make this as difficult as possible for you, in order for you just to make this go away, and I don't have to deal with it anymore. Like, I guess, how much of her character is actually fictionalized and how much is based on your own experience?
Well, my experience is limited to pretty much an interaction that I had with the police at that time that was just one day in an interrogation room and then taken over to a courtroom where I was sort of told to plead guilty and told that that was like in my best interests. So the film is trying to give that person a backstory, and that is all fictionalized. I think it's kind of my mind trying to figure out. I felt at the time and in the days afterwards, so I was so angry at the people who were involved, and I felt so betrayed by specifically one person who had sat across from me and said, "On your side, I'm here to help you. I'm like telling you what's going to be best for you," and I had really trusted. And so the impulse was kind of like, well, they're the villain. This person is evil. And so in writing the show and in fleshing out that character, I think I immediately saw that I had to try to see that this is a person, and it's not, people aren't just evil, and people don't just do things because they're conniving and manipulative, and everything comes from somewhere. So it was me trying to figure out where could that behavior come from.
Yeah. Yeah. She was like to me a compelling character. And then also, like you actually did. I'm going to do some photos of the characters that you play in the one person show. That's you as your mom, your friend with the speech, and then also the bartender at the bar. That was like, to me, the bartender was like just another actually just good character. Here's a person that you created as like very, he's a compassionate person, nice person, and then in the process of trying to kind of take care of your character at the bar, something kind of happens, but then later on, when things escalate, he's with the other people, he's trying to put on a show, right? And then he's like, oh, please get away so I don't have to do anything. But then the mob mentality kind of takes over. Can you, I guess, flesh out more that character? Because I really thought that was just a good character, and I could definitely see someone who's closeted, quite frankly, doing exactly what that character, in fact, did in your show.
Yeah. So a lot of these characters, all of them really are kind of amalgamations of people I knew growing up and even parts of myself. And I think you're seeing a lot of different queer characters, obviously. The movie is kind of, I was realizing, it's showing kind of different ways that growing up in a small, or being confined to small, maybe small-minded or traditionally conservative place, how that can manifest in different behaviors. So for Joe, for my character, it manifests in that he just gets out as soon as he can. The friend is kind of making the best of it. And this character is obviously dealing with the pressure to be somebody that he's not in that situation in a different way. And for some people, it comes out as violence, or I don't know if I'm answering the question.
No, don't worry. It was a long-winded question, so it's all good. And you also did a good job just creating just interesting, memorable characters. One is the wife, and then also the dominant leather daddy. Though in that picture he's actually dressed. And I'm just kind of curious, especially with the I guess the leather daddy. Where was the inspiration of that character? Because it's you kind of me personally, I have a mental image of what I would see would be like a dominant leather man would be, and it was not like a Sigmund Freud type. So I thought that was just humorous in general, and it was just like it was your mentality, like what would be the exact opposite of what someone would think a leather daddy would be, and then that's what I'll be.
That's interesting. It's funny because I actually wrote that character as a much more kind of on the nose leather daddy, and it was a big bearish guy. And then a friend of mine, but I was still trying to do this thing where we were confusing him with not to give too much away, but you're confusing him with being an actual psychiatrist at the beginning. And so a friend who was giving me notes on a draft of the script had said, I think the surprise will work better if he really looks like a therapist to start with. Because he kind of saw it coming. It was like a therapist who was a little bit too lumberjack looking. So he was like, I think you should just make him look just like Sigmund Freud, and then the twist will be more surprising, hopefully. So that was just a good note from somebody.
Yeah, and it was surprising, because in one thing, I was kind of curious, like, why is his arms like this while he's talking to the therapist? Shouldn't he be laying down or just sitting? Oh, but then when you get into it, I think your friend definitely had a good note. The other character that I kind of like, and it was a quick in and out, was your agent. Only because in my role, I've actually, dealt with agents. So, and I really just love the line at the end, like when, your agent, in fact, fires you, says, okay, well, if you happen to get a role, just call me back, and then I'll take a cut out of it after the fact, And I just, this is more compliment, I guess. It's just more like, I love that line. It's almost like the quintessential stereotype of a manager agent that's, they're in their interest and not yours, and and all that. And I thought it was just like a good catch. You basically said that this was all filmed during the pandemic, and it was probably one of the leading reasons why it in fact became like a one-person show. Can you actually go into like the logistics of that? I mean, obviously, it was more than just you filming everything, but like, how difficult or not was it for you to actually get this done during the pandemic?
I was really fortunate because I have a friend who had just started up a production company, Dave Productions, and they are about a little 3-person crew, and they have their own studio. And because he was starting up the production company and was trying to get work, they were taking pandemic precautions super seriously as far as testing. And so they were kind of available, and they were willing to do it at a rate that I could afford. And because they had their own studio, we kind of built that little black void inside of it. And I had the freedom to, I think we shot for 4 days, and I got like just sort of a rough compilation of everything. And then I did like a quick edit together, and it was sort of clear. It was like, well, there's some stuff that's definitely not working, some stuff that should maybe go a different direction. And then so it was easy to do pickup days because the studio was always there. We didn't have to worry about renting it. And the crew was always there, and they were always kind of taking care of themselves and precautions and ready to go.
Yeah, and one thing I kind of like that you said is that like sometimes you see with like smaller films, everyone's calling in favors to make it work. And I remember once, I forgot who said it. It's like it's like I forgot. She said something like, "I hate when people give those favors. Your time is valuable." So I'm glad you said that. You did end up paying them. But they probably helped you out with the cost of it. But it just lets people know that there is value in people's time and the equipment and all the stuff to get it done. But more importantly, you're actually able to get it done during the pandemic and edit the whole process. How long did it take you to once you had everything? How long was the whole editing process that from when you were finished to actually putting it all together?
What we shot like around Halloween in 2020, so it was probably like a month that I was still doing pickup days and shooting some little stuff, and then from then on, what is that, like 4 or 5 months?
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of tinkering with the edit, and the format lends itself to being able to kind of write in the edit. So like the agent character, for example, was somebody that I added just like a month and a half ago, maybe. There had been this whole other character of like a kid that I worked for who was a celebrity. And it was really a confusing backstory for a character that only appeared at the very beginning and didn't have anything to do with the rest of the thing. And so there was like a long, really wordy scene where I was trying to like, in expositional dialogue, explain who this character was that we weren't going to care about later. And I kept trying to like cut it down, and it just was really clunky. And so eventually I scrapped that character and was like, the agent is a little bit more of a clear way, a catalyst to just be like, and I'm leaving. But so it was kind of easy to just slip back in the studio for a few hours and shoot. And then I've been tinkering up until basically when you guys ask for it. I'll probably keep working on it after the festival.
That's I think, what was it? I think it was a Peter Jackson line. You're always working on the movie until it's like it's time for it to be released. You don't
Right.
stop. And even I think the famous clip from after I think he won the Academy Award for the last movie, he was still doing stuff for the extended cut DVD. So he already won the Academy Award, and he's still filming stuff.
Wow.
I think there was even a clip in the making of where he had the Academy Award there as they're filming the officially last scene. So yeah, it is something that you always tinker on. And actually, you gave like an insightful lesson to people just paying attention that if a character's not working or not moving the story forward, or you have to work too hard to explain them, just for lack of a better word, get rid of them. What I liked about the focus of your film was that you had a clear story. This is, person who has run of bad luck, is sick of LA, wants to go back to Montana, and the people he runs into in the process of getting back to Montana, and the whole and the backstory. So I think you did a really good job just kind of getting the story concise and to the point, and the whole scenario. The friend character who was also in speech, was it always in there that he basically picked up the speech that your character was going to do and then basically stole it to give it himself? I'm just kind of curious, because to me that kind of came out of nowhere. But once it kind of happened, I realized, oh, what a dick. But I was like, but I could see him doing it, and I like that surprise. Was that always in there?
It was, and it was really a product of it being a pilot. Was that I was from the start trying to set up a clear kind of villain that my character could be like butting heads with the entire time. And so, yeah, it was actually another good note from a friend that he had been in there, and he had kind of been this sort of like, kind of a little bit of a weasel, but he wasn't really a bad guy. And in a really early draft of the pilot version of the script, somebody who'd read it said, like, he needs to do something that just is like really going to piss you off, that would really make you like not like him. And so that was kind of where that came from.
No, and it worked. And since the impetus was speech, it would make sense that he would steal your speech. That would be the ultimate insult. I guess compliment to your character because he stole your words, but the insult is that he stole your words. Out of curiosity, I mean, obviously we're still kind of in weird times. Have you had the thought of, when things kind of get back to normal, like, I've actually taken this as a one-man show and going, and actually performing it?
Oh, absolutely. If I've like come away from the pandemic with one big realization, it's how much I miss doing live theater. That was what I grew up doing and where my love for performing and acting came from. And I've been in LA for the last almost a decade, and it's really been about like film and television, which I also love, and I I don't regret any of that, but there's just nothing like performing for a live audience. And so, yeah, I had thought a lot about how I would put this up if I was doing it by myself, because obviously you can't have the same kind of elaborate costumes. You're changing really fast. But I thought about a thing with projections. There's like, I've seen some shows with projection where they have, if you do it right, you can project like an image on the back wall and it almost looks like they're there on stage with you. And so I thought maybe I could just be my character, and then I could pre-record the mom timing her dialogue just right, so that then she's projected next to me and I could interact with her. And then
yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, that's the good thing about technology, and I'm sure, like you just said, like it can be done. I was going to suggest there was it was a recorded play with Helen Mirren where she played the Queen. I think it was called The Audience. And the thing that always amazed me, like I saw it, and she did these incredible quick costume changes on stage where it was almost like a magic trick.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I love that.
So like, just look it up, Helen Mirren. If I remember correctly, it was called The Audience. So it was they filmed it, so that way people can see it at Art House movie theaters. That's where I saw it, and it's probably, I don't know, probably 7-8 years ago. And like, she honestly did a quick change when I think she went from the old Queen to a young Queen. Like literally, like that was like David Copperfield level. Like, how'd they do that? Like, I don't even understand what just happened here. I mean, so
cool. Yeah, I think I said it before. I am such a nerd for like costumes and props and things like that. So
yeah, and definitely the projection thing is, I've seen some live shows where they do some crazy stuff with the projection, and you're like, the technology is there. It just just to figure it out, and then with that, What and actually I know the answer to this question. We're the world premiere of this, right? At OUTshine at the yeah, excellent. So hopefully from here it goes to other film festivals, and quite frankly, it has good legs in the process. Would you actually entertain the idea if someone says to you, "Hey, would you actually write 13 episodes and we can make this like a, or like even like a 6 episode miniseries type scenario"? Like, would you still go that route with it?
If somebody wants to pay me to write a 6 episode miniseries, yeah, I would absolutely. There was a moment when I was kind of finishing it, that, or maybe when I was in the sort of like neck high in editing it, that I was like, I gotta be done with this subject matter. Like, this is, it was kind of a lot to like dive into and to dredge up. But where I am now, yeah, I would absolutely entertain that. I think you asked about the character at the bar, the bartender character at the beginning, and I think I gave a really stupid answer. But I guess what I just would want to say is that him and the cop were both people that I'd had a really bad experience with, and so their character is basically me trying to fill in backstory that is somewhat sympathetic or makes them a little more human.
Okay. And that's perfectly, it makes sense. I mean, that was a tough experience for you, obviously, and it's very obvious you're still dealing with it. So any answer you give me is fine, and know that it's all good. Well, one thing I do want to add, and it's about the character of the friend, also the kind of antagonist. Like, I kind of love the fact that he was an, I'm assuming in the story he's an out gay person. Like, he's not the polar opposite of your character, but just like, it's basically the same but a little bit different. I just kind of like the fact that he's just like basically like a tweaked version of your character, but just willing to steal your work and and be like smarmy about it. It was like a nice little touch. You didn't make him to be like, oh, he's married and has kids and was your nemesis back in high school and always antagonized you. Like, he was kind of your friend, and you guys went your different ways, but he stayed there, you went away, but and all that. I thought that was like a nice touch. Like, you didn't make him the stereotypical. There's no villain in your story here for the most part, but you didn't make him a stereotypical antagonist where he was your exact opposite. Joe, kind of like what's on the cards for you? I know LA and all that's still kind of weird, and with you're out of lockdown, you're back in lockdown. I think you're coming out of it now. Like, what's kind of next for you? What do you have coming down the pipe?
I'm writing something right now that I'm really excited about. That is totally just it's kind of fantastical. So it's like moving away from the like autobiographical genre, and I really like to I'm kind of thinking about playing more with this same format of playing all the I had a lot of fun with that, and so I'm kind of writing this with that in mind, but then it always changes and becomes something completely different than you thought it was going to be. So I'm also open to that. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to things opening up and being able to go watch other people's art, though. Like I said, I'm like dying to get back into a theater, whether I'm on stage or just in the audience.
Well, hopefully sooner rather than that later, that actually kind of does happen. And it's good that you're in the creative process and you go through the edits and see where the work kind of takes you. And I really kind of do hope that this does kind of become a one-man show that you can take around the country. I think, besides just watching them in obviously right now, the smart TV, big screen at home, hopefully, when things open up, it will actually be in theaters. But I actually would love, for you to have that experience of actually doing it live in front of an audience. It obviously lends itself to it. It's just the logistics of making it work.
Yeah.
Joe, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I just was gonna say, yeah, I would love that too.
Yeah. So, thank you for being here today. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for making, actually one of, my favorite films from the festival. It's funny, my director of programming, Joe Belancio, says, "Hey, Victor, take a look at this film. Let me know what you think." I kind of watched the first 15 minutes and then I called him, it's kind of busy at the moment. Is the rest of the film like the first 15 minutes? And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Then I love it, and I'll finish watching another time." But you got my my yes vote based on the first 15 minutes,
Okay.
and then later on, I watched the whole thing, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you for making the film. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for being a part of our festival.
Yeah, thank you, Victor. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be premiering it with you guys.
All right, and then for our audience, I'm going to play the trailer for it right now.
Growing up gay in Montana, I had to mold myself into a person who fit a certain mold. But the more I molded myself, the more I grew to resent the community that had created that mold. Someday I'll get out of this town and I'll bare my soul and the world will just love me for me and all that bullshit.
Oh, to Montana, sweetheart? Those are your people over there. I ran into Brian at Costco. I told him you were back.
I'm not back, Mom. You can't tell people that.
I saw your mom at Costco. She said you were moving back. It's not a move, okay? It's like an artistic sojourn. You lied, Joe. People don't just get over it. I was fucking wasted. It wasn't my fault. Hey, isn't there a gay bar downtown? What do you need one of those kind of bars for, huh? We're good people here.
Dick. The kids today, they push each other to have less boundaries, to go further.
Oh, will you let me tell my damn story?
That is not what happened. Nobody cut into the poop with a dang knife.
Joe, I really do root for you to find peace or closure or revenge, whatever, but I just think that here tonight might do more harm than good.
Oh, did you ever hear anything about that audition? The, Netflix Astronauts Detective something?
Yeah, I got the main part. I'm the astronaut detective.